Good evening and welcome to our fifth forum for this spring session, 2012. Tonight's topic is the face-to-face interaction, a theorem created by Canadian sociologist Erving Goffman. Right? Okay. The speaker is Michał Grzegorzewski, also known as Michael, PhD student at Jiao Tong University. Okay, sorry. He has prepared here a very good piece of notes. I hope maybe later also the audience from the camera can see. Talking about face-to-face interaction, it came to my mind that today, with this age of internet, we're kind of losing face-to-face interaction, and every time we want to express something to someone, we actually avoid to talk in person. So and we hide behind the computer. And when we have the computer, then we can say everything we want. But when you need a person, then we are kind of afraid to say what we want to say. Okay, I also heard before the speech that Goffman is lately the most cited sociologist today, and that's even made me more interested to hear about this speech. So Michael, please.
Thank you. First, I would like to say why I took interest in Goffman's work. Simply because after reading him, I think that he was a genius. Because he has this tremendous ability to study something that might be unseen, might be not present to other people. This is interaction. Because interaction is something what happens every day, and we just simply don't notice it unless something goes wrong. This is, we could use a metaphor or comparison as this is like a health, right? You don't think about your health unless you get some problems. So he didn't need any problem with interaction to discover that he might go into it and study it and create, as he did, very specific and actually simply saying amazing language to talk about interaction. And just few things about Goffman. He was basically writing between 50s and 80s, and actually he's considered as a first postmodern sociologist due to his style. He didn't create any large theory. He wasn't interested in creating any large theory explaining the whole complexity of the social reality. He was kind of free-floating intellectual, taking interest here and there, and he never actually summarized his findings, and he never built up this kind of a solid body of theory, and he was also criticized for that. And he didn't really give much credit to any other influences, but we could trace his thinking to so-called symbolic interactionists. This is kind of a school of thought in sociology, which is basically, I'm not going to develop this, but just enough to say that this is basically looking at social reality from below, from everyday interactions and actions of people towards some meanings. Everything has a meaning. Objects, gestures, language, everything has a meaning, and this is socially constructed. And people interact toward their interpretations of those meanings. And so we could say that the Goffman is somehow into this stream. But he did something more detailed. Precisely, he studied interaction through observation. And what is most important, he didn't ask a question. He wasn't interested in why people interact, why people get together, why we live together. He was interested in question how we interact. And his answer, the most general answer that actually can be extended to this kind of problem of creating the social reality from the below, is that the biggest drive, the strongest motivation for not why but how we interact is the avoidance of embarrassment and shame. These emotions are so unpleasant that we do a lot of things, we developed a lot of techniques to avoid such emotions. And even more interestingly, it's not that you are embarrassed and you are ashamed and you feel bad. Also a person that that you interact with, if this person is ashamed or embarrassed, that everyone noticing this will also feel uncomfortable. So we do a lot of things to avoid such emotions. And I think that the best way to present his approach is to talk about his vernacular, his lexicon that he built up. And I think that's why I prepared this graph that is, maybe we'll just make it a bit more clear. I will go term after the term and shortly, because we are limited with time, shortly discuss what is this about. I will provide also examples because I think it's the best way to grasp his ideas, genius ideas, I would say. Okay, number one is interaction order, which means that actually he perceived interaction as having order, having some laws, having some patterns that might be distinguished and theorized and build up into his actually lexicon. So this is the kind of the biggest term. The second one, this is crucial because I should mention that he is known for using this dramaturgical metaphor. He had actually similarly to Shakespeare, he talks about the social life as a kind of theater, as we play. He uses all those terms taken from the theater, like performance, backstage, front stage, props. That brings him closer to the theater kind of language, but he is very clear about that this is just a metaphor. He doesn't think that the theater and the human life is the same and social life is the same, because I will point out the differences. And okay, so the first term is interaction order as the biggest term. The second one is a definition of the situation. And we could define it as a kind of commonly agreed interpretation of the situation. Let's say, the example, our meeting right now. Let's say there is somebody entering this room and person who hasn't been here before, and this person will have some sort of definition of the situation, basically answering the question, what is going on? So this person, based on the previous experiences, previous similar situations, will build up the very broad definition of the situation. Okay, there's sort of what this person might think. There's sort of meeting, right? People are, I don't know, discussing things, right? That is very broad, very broad. And the third term would be framing, and then we could use some analogy that this is more precise interpretation of the situation. We could, let's say, if the definition of the situation is a landscape, right, that we have a particular landscape, the framing would be like taking a picture. So we have a frame, right, and we can just see more precisely this piece of the landscape. And the framing is very important because we base our behavior on framing. That, for example, that we interpret the situation in a particular way, and we need to have enough efficient number of data, right, to frame the situation and then pick up the proper behavior. Because every one of us has a repertoire of roles and masks, as Goffman says, that we might activate in accordance to particular framing. Number 4, keys. Keys are kind of signals that help us to interpret, to build up actually the framing. And as you can see, there is down keying and up keying. That would be that, let's say these are the small signals. For example, in this room, the person is entering, right? The first has a definition of the situation, very broad. Okay, there's some sort of meeting going on. And then, after a while, this person might build up framing. For example, based on keys. Keys are the signals. For example, this person might observe us and see that this is, and answer the question, is it a formal situation or informal situation? And let's say this person might see some food right here that we are eating, you know, or the manner, the behavior of others, and these are the keys, okay, and might build up the framing. And the keys might go both ways, up key and down key. Up key would be, let's say, talking about formality of the situation, would be kind of upgrading this framing to the more formal one. Let's say you are not talking right, and you behave in a certain way. There might be up keying. Down keying would be, let's say, that somebody is talking through the phone right now, or somebody is going around, right? That would be kind of down keying of the situation. Okay. Number 5. This is related with framing. Misframing. Misframing, simply saying, is a mistaken interpretation of the situation, and the mistaken interpretation has resulted in choosing a wrong role, okay, reacting wrongly to the framing. Examples. It's based on an older joke, whatever. There's, let's say, a woman is late night is going back home through the dark park, right? And there's a man following her with hands like this, right? So this woman is scared, right? In some point, she turns, takes her purse and smashes him, right? And what she does, she breaks the glass, because the guy was carrying the glass, you know, the glass, a window or something. So you see, her interpretation of the situation, her framing was misframed in some way. She picked up a wrong action. Another one. Violin case. This is actually printed by the movies and the pop culture. When we see that, it's really taken from the movies. When we see the violin case, right, there might be a gun inside, right? This is what you think, right? There's a professional killer carrying the gun around, right? So this is a kind of misframing. Let's say you can jump on this guy and try to bring him down because he's having the violin case, and actually there might be violin inside. That would be misframing. Another one, this is a very little one. Actually, Goffman says this is an interpretation. Disruption of the framing, not necessarily misframing. For example, you are standing, right, talking with somebody, and then you feel that you stepped on somebody's feet, right? And you say, I'm sorry, I stepped on your feet. But then you take a look, and this is not the feet. This is, let's say, carpet or something that gave you this feeling that this is somebody's feet. And then you say this to this person doesn't know what is going on, right? So this is kind of misframing as well, in a very small scale. Next one, breaking the frame. Number 6, breaking the frame or reframing. This is, simply saying, is a violation of the requirements of the frame. Every frame has some behavioral requirements. If you violate them, then the frame is broken. For example, I'm drunk, okay? I'm talking to you and I'm drunk. And let's say you notice that. To some point, I can still keep talking, and and the frame of our meeting will be held, right? But over some point, beyond some point, if I'm really, acting strangely and doing crazy things, probably, Alex would stand up and say, sorry, we cannot hold this meeting today because Michael is drunk. That would be a breaking of the frame, right? Comedies, right? Comedians, they use misframing and breaking the frame as their routine, right? That's what is fun. That's what is fun. I don't know, classical example of breaking the frame. You are on the first date and you fart, right? This is breaking the frame. It's funny, right? It's funny, and it might be not funny if it happens, but actually comedians use this kind of exaggerations, right, to present their points, their point. Okay, so next one would be, okay, I pick up another example. It's not from Goffman, but I think it's pretty within this framework. This is taken from the study in the clubs, in the pubs, in how people talk, how people behave, and it's called mind fucking. That's a scientific term for this. Mind fucking. Mind fucking is something like probably most of us had the situation before that. There's somebody who is sending you a different kind of signals for building up different frames. Let's say somebody is friendly to you and aggressive to you, right? In the same time. and just switching the frames. Switching the frames. Let's say you are in the pub and somebody's like, you know, like a big guy, let's say, it's like, you know, slapping you, that is like, you don't know, this is friendly, but it's kind of hard, you know, you don't really know, it's kind of between. And you are really trapped, because if you react as this is aggressive, you frame it as aggressive behavior, then this guy might say, I'm just joking, man, why are you so nervous, right? And you are embarrassed, right? Other way around, if you ignore it, then other people will say, hey, what, this guy is slapping you, you know, and just humiliating you publicly, and you don't react, you know, this is mind fucking. This is just sending constantly very discrepant frames. Okay, number 7, performance. This is the key concept in Goffman's, right? Well, we all feel what it is about, that we perform in front of each other, right? But what does it mean? It means that we highlight something about us while muting other aspects of us. And this is also called management of impression, right? We interact in this way that we want to have some desired result as a desired impression on others. And what is interesting that that performing in this way in interaction is actually not script, it's improvisation, right? Because we have this repertoire of roles that we got through growing up, through previous experiences, but actually we never know what's going to happen during interaction. Okay? So this is actually, we need to perform, but we didn't rehearse, right? We kind of, this is always flow. And that's why number 8 is a term, is between those two guys, is a working consensus. So imagine, there's a definition of the situation, then you have a frame which is smaller, and then is this particular situation that we are in now. And through our interacting, we kind of establish consensus that keeps the flow going. And this is working consensus. This is very situational and might be broken very easily. Okay, that was number 8. And now let me point out the differences between performance, as Goffman understands it, and the theater. That this is not the same. Differences. In the theater you have illusion, right? You know that this is illusion, right? That's what the actors perform on the stage. Then they rehearse, right, before playing. They have a time to prepare. Performance in terms of interaction also might be related to rehearsal. We rehearse, but rarely, right? Sometimes you know that you're gonna, let's say me here, right? Maybe I could rehearse, right? Because I'm expecting this situation. But mostly we have no chance to do so. So we just kind of improvise based on our previous knowledge. Other difference, in the theater you have me, audience, and actors, right? 3 components. In the social interaction, we have only 2, me and audience, right? Only 2. And okay, number 9. Number 9 and 10, actually it goes together. Appearance and manner. What is important? Appearance is easy, right? The way you look like. Manner is how you act, how you speak, how you behave. There are 3 things that need to be coherent to not break the frame. The way you look like, the way you behave, and the situation. Okay? You remember the movie Catch Me If You Can? Catch Me If You Can with DiCaprio, right? He played like what? He was like 18, let's say. I mean, he played a guy who's 18, and he pretended to be a pilot, a policeman, or detective, a doctor, and a lawyer, I think. Okay? All those social roles requires a lot of training, professional training, right? But he kept it going through, as I remember, in some cases, a couple months, just by maintaining coherence between his appearance, manner, and the situation. And the other people could not discover that he's a con. It's a con. So that's how important it is. For example, appearance and manner. Let's say you have an artist, right? Installation artist coming to you to talk to you, right? Your tolerance for his behavior is kind of broader, right? Because he's an artist. He must look kind of weird, maybe, to your standards. He might behave in a weird way, but you define it. This is a situation, this is this person, and it's kind of, it's changeable, okay? Number 11. I don't know what number 10 is, but it doesn't matter actually. Number 11.
Manners parents. Or manners.
Oh, sorry, yeah, okay, because I have a mistake here. Okay, we're good. Number 11. You see, this is the disruption, a little disruption of the frame, but I will go to it how we can deal with this. Okay, we can make a little joke like now, and it's gone, and I can continue, and it's fine.